To hear more about Michael Jesser, our former CEO, please welcome his wife, Laura Jesser.
Thank you, David. Good morning. I'm sure, like many of your bubbies, my grandmother was adamant that I marry a Jewish man. Growing up in farm country outside of Sacramento, California, this seemed incredibly unlikely to me. The only Jewish boys I knew were my brothers or my cousins. I mean, they were cousins who lived in more exotic places like Los Angeles, but family nonetheless. And so the thought of marrying a nice Jewish boy was lost on me growing up. It wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to marry a Jewish boy. Fast forward to my 30s, I signed up and had my very first J-date, where I met my beshert, Michael Jesser. To say I married a Jewish boy is putting it lightly. I married a Jewish boy. They don't come any more Jewish than my Michael. I mean, except that he was like 6'3", over 250 pounds, and looked like an NFL linebacker. But in every other way, he was as Jewish as they come. His siblings, extended family, and friends referred to him as their rabbi. Spiritually, culturally, morally, ethically, they looked to Michael on all things Jewish. But Michael never went to rabbinical school. No, Michael was a communal Jew, born and bred in the family business. My beloved father-in-law, Paul Jesser, worked as a Jewish Federation director in Maine and Orlando. He worked for the Jewish National Front, the Hebrew University, and refuses to retire to this day, currently fundraising for the Shari Zedek Hospital in Israel. My equally beloved mother-in-law, Faye Jesser, was a Jewish school and music educator for decades. I thought I knew Jewish. That was until I met the Jessers. Michael excelled in the family business. His professional experience included JCCs in New Jersey, Boston, and Los Angeles. He served as executive director of the USC Hillel and Jewish World Watch. His Federation experience included director of real estate and the construction division, and the director of Geller Leadership Project for the LA Federation. He was the director of the annual campaign and the Live in Legacy program for the Federation in Portland, Oregon, and as you know, most recently for the CEO of the Jewish Federation right here in San Diego. I'm not sure what any of those titles meant he did. What I do know is that my grandmother was overjoyed when Michael proposed to me, and she passed away peacefully and happily just a couple weeks after we were married. I say in jest, I don't know what any of the titles Michael meant he did, but I do. And what I know was Michael's passion. In all of his roles, in all of his titles, it was fostering young leadership. Michael felt the best way to keep Judaism alive and thriving was to engage younger generations. He felt there was no greater investment and no greater joy than bringing up young leaders. Whether it was building a dynamic Hillel at USC, starting the Pathway Mentorship Program in Portland, or promoting cabinet right here in San Diego, Michael made young leaders a top priority. We always wanted to host Shabbat meals for Michael's colleagues, staff, and board members, but unfortunately, life's challenges got in the way. The groups Michael always made a point for us to host were the members of the young leadership programs. And the joy he had in having all these young, enthusiastic professionals over was intoxicating. Michael always wanted to help, to mentor, to build up others, and felt the most powerful way to do so was in the youth leadership programs. He believed in the power of tomorrow and empowering the Federation as a tool to that guide. I need Kleenex now, excuse me. What I know more than anything is what the Jewish Federation is. The Jewish Federation is leaving over a dozen challahs at my door on a rainy day in Portland in 2017 when Michael was first diagnosed with esophageal cancer. Federation is the staff giving up their own sick days in support of Michael when he'd run out of his own sick days. Federation is the board rushing to watch our 7-month-old daughter while I accompanied Michael to chemo treatments and medical procedures. Federation is San Diego welcoming Michael when he was in remission to a new position as CEO, a position allowing him to refocus and feel empowered again. Federation is setting up meal trains on top of meal trains when Michael's cancer came back, even though he was too nauseous from his treatments to eat, and I was too terrified to do the same. Federation is organizing a parade amidst the COVID pandemic to welcome Michael home after a months-long stay in the hospital after surgery. Federation is its board personally raising money for us when we were forced to move amidst Michael's toughest treatment, so we didn't have to worry any more than we already were. Federation is coming to an unpacking party at our house after that same move. Federation is standing outside the hospital with large signs for Michael to see and be encouraged by, yet during another months-long stay in the hospital. It brought all the staff and even the toughest nurses to tears in the middle of the pandemic. Federation is sitting with my 4-year-old daughter and me at Michael's Shiva after his passing, and still calling and texting, leaving our daughter Eleanor with little surprises and surprise meals for us today, 14 weeks after my Bashert lost his battle with cancer. Federation is setting up the Michael Jesser Outstanding Jewish Professional Award to continue his legacy. I know the Jewish Federation. It is community, it is family, and most of all, it is love. So my grandmother was right. It was important for me to marry a wonderful Jewish boy. But I was right too. Marrying a Jewish boy meant marrying family. And I am so, so grateful to our Jewish Federation family. Thank you for all of you do. Keep paving the way for yourselves and others, and please, please keep supporting one another. Thank you so much, with my whole heart.